Depois de resolver o problema da antena da GNR, Turidog nos dá a informação de que nosso pai está a caminho de RIVET City. E nós já conhecemos a sua localização, mas para isso teríamos que voltar da GNR até o monumento de Anchorage e então seguir para leste. Se formos pelo caminho todo a pé, vamos levar muito tempo e teríamos que ir pelos túneis do metrô. Por isso, usamos fast travel até o monumento. E ali perto encontramos um tipo de casa em que podemos entrar, mas chegando na porta encontramos um aviso para manter a arma no coldre ou você pode levar um tiro. Assim que entramos, fomos recebidos por duas mulheres em trajes menores e falamos com uma mulher chamada Sherry, Cereja. Aqui descobrimos que Dukov, o dono do lugar, é um mulherengo bêbado. Sherry diz que fica ali em troca de proteção. Então nos oferecemos para levar ela para RIVET City, se ela quiser. Ela aceita. E então vamos. Mas estrategicamente eu prefiro deixar ela perto da casa do Dukov, até poder usar fast travel em RIVET City, o que deixa bem mais fácil levar ela em segurança até a cidade. Então vamos rumo a RIVET City pelo caminho normal e sozinho. Então primeiro eu encontro uma fortificação dos Riders. E depois de acabar com eles, eu levo Cherry até ali. Deixando ela segura, sigo em frente para o caminho até RIVET City. O grande problema, além dos Riders, é que os prédios até RIVET City têm vários centauros e supermutantes muito bem armados. Temos que ir com cuidado, um jogo de paciência, de mirar e atirar. Mas com as armas que temos atualmente, isso significa muitos tiros. Andamos mais um pouco, então encontramos um comerciante. Santa Mãe de Deus! Que foi isso? Precisamos de ajuda aqui. Isso vai me deixar sem dormir por algum tempo, mas tudo bem. Seguimos em frente e encontramos uma fortificação feita por mutantes. Agora temos que enfrentar eles em um campo mais aberto. Mas ainda podemos, com uma certa habilidade, atirar bem de longe neles, o que é uma vantagem considerável. Depois de limpar o lugar, podemos explorar e encontrar bastante munição e outros recursos. Aqui encontramos um escravo dos mutantes, desta vez um homem. Assim como da primeira vez, eu deixo ele ir com os recursos dele, embora afinal, de outro jeito, ele não teria chance alguma nesse lugar. Uma coisa nojenta aqui são as redes de corpos. Tem alguns recursos aqui, mas é tudo bem pouca coisa na maioria das vezes. Mas andando mais um pouco a leste, encontramos um acesso a um tipo de plataforma alta, e aqui encontramos Carlos. Assim como Mickey na porta de Megaton, ele fica pedindo água limpa. Mas depois de andarmos até aqui, não temos nenhuma água, nem para nós. Aqui encontramos um comunicador onde podemos pedir acesso à cidade. Com isso, vemos uma ponte se movimentar para nos dar acesso. Então percebemos que RIVET City foi feita dentro de um antigo navio. Isso traz algumas lembranças de Fallout 2. Agora, podemos trazer Cherry até aqui com Fresh Travel. Assim que atravessamos a ponte, somos abordados por um guarda.
Hold it right there. State your business in RIVET City.
Estou procurando por meu pai.
And who might your father be? If he lives on this boat, I know.
Ele não mora aqui. Ele veio até aqui para ver a Doutora Li.
Dr. Li, eh? Well, then I guess you'd have to ask Dr. Li for more information. Go on up, then. She's probably in the science lab. But keep your nose clean, you hear me?
Agradeço a ajuda. É só seguirmos as placas e encontramos o laboratório da doutora. Chegando ao laboratório, encontramos dois senhores falando com uma cientista.
Dr. Li is trying to save lives, and your constant interruptions are interfering with those efforts. Now please, stand aside.
I'm sure the good doctor's work with water purification is fascinating. But if you only knew what was at stake, the technology in that android...
What's at stake? You won't tell me what's at stake. Vagaries and secrecy. A robot's a robot, Zimmer, no matter how shiny the paint job. Now, please.
Ignorance and facetiousness. That's all you people are good for. Shiny paint job indeed. You can't even imagine the Commonwealth's accomplishments.
You know, if you're so smart, maybe you could help us, But no, that never even crossed your mind. Go peddle your selfishness somewhere else.
Fine, but I'm not leaving. Not until I've spoken to Dr. Li. I'll be here when she's ready to abandon her chemistry set and talk real science.
Suit yourself.
Após ouvir parte da conversa, eles vêm até nós.
You there. What are you, some kind of lab assistant? No, you look a bit more weathered. Are you by any chance for hire?
Depende. Do que exatamente estamos falando aqui?
To the point. I like that. Well, as it turns out, I've misplaced some very sensitive property.
Bens perdidos? Que tipo de bens?
How do I put this in a way you'll understand? All you know of robots are those buckets of bolts, those Mr. Handshakers and whatnot. Well, that's not all a robot can be. You see, in the Commonwealth, we've made artificial persons, synthetic humanoids, programmed to think and feel and do whatever we need. And occasionally, they get confused and wander off.
Interessante. Mas o que isso tem a ver comigo exatamente?
You're helping me retrieve this android, aren't you? I've tracked him this far. He's out there somewhere, in the capital wasteland. He must have done something drastic, like facial surgery and a mind wipe, or else I would have found him by now. It will be no easy task. He may not even realize he's an android. Don't upset him by talking with him. Just come get me immediately. I'll handle it.
Suponho que haverá algum tipo de recompensa, né?
Of course. I have at my disposal advanced technology from the Commonwealth. I'd be willing to share some of it with you. Just think, you'll be the envy of all your friends.
Claro. Vou ver como encontrar seu androide.
Excellent! Locate my android and you won't be disappointed. Here, listen to this message he sent me. He's mocking me. I swear, I'll make him pay for that.
Eu preciso saber mais sobre com quem estou lidando. O que exatamente é um androide?
Forget everything you know about robots. Those buckets are mere children's toys compared to the real thing. Androids have fake skin and blood and are programmed to simulate human behavior, like breathing. They can even eat and digest food realistically.
Então, alguma sugestão para encontrar esse androide?
Like I said, I suspect he's had facial reconstruction and possibly even a mind wipe. Search the offices of doctors or techies for android information. If he's come into contact with these people, there may be records. Start with Dr. Preston. He lives on this leaky boat. See if he knows anything. He's a doctor, after all. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm busy trying to ignore my surroundings.
Se este androide se perdeu por aí, por que ele iria querer uma nova mente e rosto?
Maybe he didn't exactly wander off. Maybe he fled. Escaped captivity, as it were, if he began to misinterpret his situation. It's possible my android sought to forget his previous life, wipe away all memory, all guilt, trick himself into believing he really is human. So no, he may not be just an ordinary robot, but he's certainly not human, no matter how badly he wishes it so. I made him. I want him. End of story.
Por que o androide sentiria pena? Vamos, Zimmer. O que está escondendo?
By God, you're as annoying as you are clever. Very well. I'll tell you what you want to know, if it helps you locate my property. The duty of this particular unit was the hunting and capturing of other escaped androids. Yes, others have escaped. It's one of the side effects of having such an advanced AI. Machines start to think for themselves, fool themselves into believing they have rights. And so, this particular android may have believed he'd done something wrong, immoral, and wanted to forget those deeds. Satisfied now?
Certo. Se os outros também escaparam, por que está atrás desse?
This particular android, designation A321, is different, special, the most advanced synthetic humanoid I've ever developed. The others, like my escort Armitage there, are all older models, easily replicated. But A321? It will take years to recreate him. So you see, this android must be located at all costs. The others are all acceptable losses, but A321, he is irreplaceable.
Me fale sobre a comunidade.
The Commonwealth itself is nothing but a war-ravaged quagmire of violence and despair. Inside the sealed environment of the Institute, however. But the Institute's affairs are none of your concern. Your undeveloped mind couldn't even begin to comprehend what we've accomplished.
Conhece a história de RIVET City?
Looks to me like a giant boat ran aground and a bunch of savages moved in. History lesson over.
Eu tenho que ir agora.
Of course you do.
Essa missão é estranha. E essa história do androide me deixou curioso. Mas eu não posso esquecer o porquê nós estamos aqui. O nosso lado explorador vai ter que ser deixado de lado por um momento, pois estamos aqui para procurar a Doutora Li. A foto que Tree Dog nos deu me ajuda a localizar ela no laboratório.
Look, this is a restricted area. I'm tired of telling you people. It's you. My heavens, you look so much like him. You're James's son, aren't you? What are you doing here?
Você conhece meu pai? Tem visto ele?
Well, yes, of course I do. Don't you know who I am? I suppose James never told you. Typical. I'm Dr. Madison Li. I worked with your father many years ago. Your mother as well, in fact. You'll have to forgive me, this has all been very stressful. What with your father suddenly showing up here after being gone for so long. You have to understand that we put all of that behind us. Project Purity, our work, all of it. We've moved on, even if your father hasn't.
Tô tentando encontrar meu pai, você ouviu?
You mean you haven't? I assumed he sent you here. For that matter, aren't you supposed to be in a vault? James said he left you there.
Eu abandonei o vault para procurar por ele.
Did you? I was under the impression that's exactly the opposite of what he wanted for you. Well, you won't find him here. He's come and gone already.
Desculpe-me, poderia me dizer para onde ele foi?
Your father insisted that we return to work on Project Purity. I tried telling him too much time has passed. There's no way it would work. Predictably, he refused to listen to me. He says he can prove it will work and headed off to the old lab. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to tell you.
Onde fica esse antigo laboratório de vocês?
It's in the old Jefferson Memorial Building, northwest of here. Please, don't go after him. It was foolish of him to even think about going there alone.
Pode me contar mais alguma coisa sobre meus pais?
I suppose so. I worked with them for several years until your mother died and your father decided it was time to leave. What else do you want to know?
Nunca conheci minha mãe. O que pode me contar sobre ela?
Yes, your mother was... well, she was a good woman. A very dedicated scientist. Your father loved her very much. It was a shame that she died. She had been excited to meet you.
Por que minha mãe morreu? O que aconteceu?
Complications from childbirth. None of us were expecting it. We weren't as prepared as we could have been. You have to understand, we were struggling with scavenged, derelict equipment. We did everything we could.
Entendo. Tenho certeza que vocês fizeram tudo o que podiam.
Yes. Well, I'm sorry it wasn't enough.
Como meu pai era, então?
James? He was very driven, determined to change the world. Well, we all were back then, I suppose. He was focused on two things, really. Making Project Purity work, and your mother. When she died, I think he gave up. I know he wanted to keep you safe, but I think part of what he did was run away. But it seems that he never really was able to get over the idea. I'm frankly shocked that he waited all this time and wants to try again.
Vamos falar sobre outra coisa.
Okay.
Existe alguma maneira de você me ajudar?
Look, I don't want to be harsh, but I have problems of my own. I don't have the resources to support James's foolish endeavors or your chasing after him. I'm sorry.
Qual é? Não há nada que você possa fazer para me ajudar?
I suppose I can spare a few stim packs. It's not much, but it might make things easier for you.
Eu gostaria de conhecer um pouco sobre você.
What? Well, I'm not sure what there is to tell. Your father and we worked together for a long time. I think we were really on to something. But then there were complications. The project was abandoned and your father disappeared. I returned here to Rivet City and established the lab you see before you now.
Me fale sobre esse projeto que você trabalhou com meu pai.
Project Purity, we called it. What do you want to know?
Qual o propósito disso?
It was simple, really. Fresh, clean water for everyone. Such a simple idea, and yet so impossible to realize. The plan was to build a facility that could purify all the water in the tidal basin at once. No radiation, no muck, just clear water. It just turned out to be more difficult than we anticipated.
Por que não funcionou?
We had the basic principles down, we understood most of the science behind it, but the radiation in the area is so pervasive. Small-scale tests were fine, but anytime we tried to test the process on a larger scale, it was just too much. Maybe if we'd had more time, or better equipment.
Por que parou de trabalhar nele? O que aconteceu?
You happened. It wasn't just you. We had more problems than we could handle already, but your birth is what finally pushed it over the edge. Your father decided that you were more important than everything we'd been working for, and he left. He left all of us. Once he was gone, the Brotherhood decided we weren't worth their time anymore. Without their protection, we had to abandon the purifier.
O que é esse laboratório? O que está fazendo aqui?
This is the Rivet City Science Lab. It's taken many long years to put together, but we've done well for ourselves. Our work on portable fusion power and hydroponics are coming along quite nicely, if not quite according to schedule.
Que tipo de lugar é Rivet City?
Rivet City is one of the few bastions of civilization left in the land. We're working to rebuild our society, to make the world livable again.
O que você sabe sobre a história da cidade?
About the science lab, but even though I was here near the start, I can't really help with the details of how it all worked out. It all seems like a lifetime ago. I'm afraid I've had a lot of things on my mind since those early days.
O que você sabe sobre Zimmer?
That man doesn't have you looking for his pet android, does he? I've already told him to lay off it. He's distracting my entire team. Good luck finding your father.
Temos que achar o memorial de Jefferson aqui perto. Não sabemos se o nosso pai ainda está lá. Então temos que ir para lá, rápido.